Should we do some overrated or underrated?
Yes.
Okay, so these ones are from David. Tan wall tyres.
Underrated.
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 Often lighter than their black-walled counterparts.
That's mechanic Nick speculation.
No, I've done a video on it.
Yeah,
All of the ones we weighed were lighter.
Oh, that's a load of rubbish.
It's not. Same model of tyre, same price. The tan walls are lighter, but they're probably thinner and going to punch her more.
I mean, it's totally down to personal preference, but I love a tan wall. A tan wall with a dark frame.
Yeah. But the tan's got to be the right tan.
Yeah.
And
T-scale.
T-scale. Oh, sorry, TEA.
Yeah.
You're right. So I was mean about Specialized a second ago about their shoes, but I'm going to bring it back into balance with they have the best color tan wool tires.
Do they?
Turbo cottons. Very, very nice. But you can only run them on a Specialized, can't you? So
They're overrated because they are often put on bikes that it just doesn't look very good on.
first Lachlan Morton, now this.
I know.
You're gonna have to publicly apologise again.
Shame.
But I do personally like tan walls a lot if the tan is the right colour and they are on the right bike.
Yeah, that's what you said about Lachlan Morton as well.
I mean, it is completely aesthetic and therefore it's completely, number one, redundant and subjective. So whatever, but P.S. underrated.
Next up is also from David, building your own bike from parts. Underrated.
Yeah, for learning, it's amazing.
Yeah. I have to say, though, when we were building bikes, which neither of us have done for quite some time, bikes were very simple. Whereas now they are significantly more complicated.
Simple, they're more complicated in some ways and they are easier in other ways.
What ways are they easier?
High-end stuff is just, there's no wires.
Well, yeah, but then you have to...
Brake bleed.
Well, I actually wasn't even going to say brake bleed. I was going to say you have to get brake hoses through handlebars, through frames, in all of the weird places, because when was the last time you saw a bike that wasn't integrated in some way? Whereas the bikes that we would have been building back in the day...
My blue bike is the easiest bike to service, work on, build.
Also integrated.
No, it's not.
It is. I can literally see the cable going into the frame.
Oh, for the brake?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just pokes out the other side.
Well,
you poke it through and then it just goes, ooh, done. I like the fact that I could service that with sticks on the side of the road.
That's also a 10-year-old frame.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, it's not new.
It is. The problem with it is that a lot of modern bikes are significantly more complicated than they were historically. So it is intimidating now to... Disc brakes is intimidating. Di2 is intimidating. E-tap is not intimidating because you literally just bolt it onto the frame. You don't have to do anything else.
Di2 is getting there, isn't it? It's
just
just
is, yeah.
There's a little bit internal wiring, but not very much. SRAM brake fluid is highly poisonous, so you've got to be careful of that.
But with all that said, I do think it's underrated because you just learn so much.
Yeah.
And even about tools, like what tools to use and things like that. Have you ever built a bike, Emily?
No. That's what you're there for, Jimmy.
I know how to build a bike, but I didn't know how to build a guitar, and I built a guitar about 2 months ago. It was very satisfying. I'm glad I can now do it. I think projects are very good for my brain, and the accomplishment afterwards. Even though it's a small deal, it's like I built it and now it's there. That's it. But it was very satisfying. Every time I walk past it, I smile.
Before you know it, you'll be building furniture and renovating a house. Next up, hybrid bikes. Okay, I'll go first then. Underrated because it's a great entry point for someone which doesn't ride a bike. It's not intimidating because it's got a flat bar. I guess I don't think it's a UK term, but a hybrid bike is essentially
flat bar.
A bike which is typically heavy and not expensive and has a flat, straight handlebar and is just it's basically a mountain bike without suspension, sort of.
Good description.
I would also say underrated on the basis that, potentially controversial, I think road bike positioning is just too aggressive. I hate it. if you guys weren't into road bikes and if I hadn't got into cycling via road bikes, I would be on a hybrid. I think sitting up is much more comfortable.
Can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
Why don't you get one? I know what will happen because I built a really light flat bar bike.
I hated it.
You'll ride it for a while and you'll go, oh, it's just so much slower than a drop bar bike. And then you go, well, I'm doing all of the same stuff, but I'm just going slower, so I may as well just have drop bars.
It's slower, and I imagine if you rode over an hour, you'd be like, actually, my hands shouldn't be in this position. And you'd end up getting those little bar end thingies, and then you might as well just be on road handlebars. But get a proper bike fit.
Yeah, this is it. I just think that my back's all wonky and I'm not sure I'll ever be. But
You're probably in a situation where you need a really good bike fitter because of unusual circumstances with scoliosis and stuff.
If only we knew one.
If only we knew one.
hybrid bikes underrated because I think they're actually, this is based on no evidence other than my brain. I think much more people who are getting into cycling are probably looking at a hybrid bike. I think road bikes are niche in the world of bikes, people on bikes. Hybrid bikes are more accessible price point, more accessible positioning, less intimidating for people, more commuter focused. They are the gateway drug into cycling.
Therefore, they're underrated.
Therefore, they're underrated.
Mm-hmm. Bibs with cargo pockets.
Underrated.
Underrated, yeah.
I like the concept of them, and then I never actually use the pocket for anything other than my phone.
But what's wrong with that?
That's great.
Everything
Yeah.
else is porky.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Oh, I put my very sharp, spiky keys in my other pocket, and I don't feel it.
Do you know what? My ITB muscle is just constantly in pain, so anything that pokes against it just really hurts.
You know what you just said about that bike fit thing?
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. Tell me about it.
The reason I don't put my keys in my bib short pocket.
You're scared they're going to fall out?
Well, no, not fall out. I'm just like, oh, if I did happen to crash,
Oh, spike into
that would bloody hurt.
I am constantly scared that my phone and my keys are both going to fall out somehow. That as if me pedaling at the top of the stroke is making it so they'll fall. But if you look at it, it's nowhere near.
I honestly, I've got to the point where I just don't think any bib shorts should not have pockets.
You think they should all have pockets?
They should always have pockets.
If you crash, which is unlikely, but if you crash and you have your phone in your pocket, it's in a place that gets smashed. If it's in your back pocket on your jerseys, very unlikely to get smashed.
But it might not get smashed because I've dropped my phone a bazillion times. It's not smashed.
Unobtainium.
We'll test it. You're gonna have to crash your bike with
Your phone in
my
your pocket.
phone in.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, deal.
Yeah.
I feel like people who don't like cargo bibs, that is always the argument they give, that they're dangerous if you have a crash. But
Not if it's a banana.
nah.
Banana would protect you a bit.
Huh?
Banana would protect you a bit.
Yeah.
If anything, people, if they're that scared of crashing, everything's so dangerous, then how about you put bubble wrap in your cargo bibs? And then you could also put it all inside your jersey and stuff. And you'd be like the Michelin man.
Yeah.
Latex tubes, overrated.
Overrated. Oh, they just lose air.
Well, arguably, all tubes are overrated. That's going to upset people, isn't it? Deep section rims, overrated.
Well, they look cool, Jimmy.
They do look cool.
Underrated.
So do not deep section rims on the right bike.
That's true.
I think they are good, and they often look good, but you don't need them. So you don't have to spend upwards of £800 to £9,000 on a set of wheels just because they're deep section rims.
All right, the top reason I would buy deep section wheels, and I'm actually in the process of buying some at the moment, they look cool. They make a swoosh swoosh noise. They are marginally faster than the same wheel, but shallower depth. It is very marginal. Reasons you wouldn't want to have them: crosswinds, and it's very windy up here in the northeast, so it is impractical. Inner tube sizes or valve sizes. So if you do run tubes, finding a replacement inner tube or a spare inner tube with a super long valve, if you've got like 60mm wheels, it's more expensive and more annoying. Which means if you're like riding in a country that's not at home and you don't know if you're going to be near bike shops, you've got to make sure you got the right valve extenders / inner tubes. It's just annoying. There are many more reasons to not to use them than to use them.
I.e. overrated.
Nah, because I really like how they look.
Bromptons.
I got a Brompton. I can see it there. I've ridden it once. I really think if it was a nicer one, I would use it more.
What does that mean?
Like if it was, they make a few different ones, don't they? They make like a titanium one.
So what you're saying is it's not fancy enough for you?
Yeah, it's heavier.
your bike decisions are outrageous.
I think for commuting, they're very good. They're very fit for purpose.
The best folding bike by a long way,
Oh,
right? They
definitely.
patented their system and no one else has ever come close.
I've only ever ridden an electric Brompton. And
Oh, it's great
it
fun.
was.
Me too.
It felt incredibly sketchy, though. It feels very like, oh.
That was old electric tech, though. I bet they're
Was
a
it?
lot more smooth now.
Yeah, maybe. I think just having the handlebar directly over the wheel gives you less stability.
That one had the same bar as that, which is like a horrible rise. I'm not a fan of that. I always, because I borrowed a Brompton for the urban hill climb in London, and I wish it was the one which had the lower, flatter bar, because I feel like it would be more stable. I think they're great.
Yeah, they're very fit for purpose if you're a commuter.
If the train station by us wasn't at the bottom of a massive hill, I would definitely use a Brompton a lot. But because the ride home would be so hideous, I just don't.
Electric.
Yeah, I've thought about it, but then it's a lot of money and still a load of effort.
So how do you get back from the station?
I don't. I just ride the whole journey.
Sleep there. Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Big graphics on frames and wheels, suggested by Chris.
Oh, they're not very well rated, are they? No one likes that, do they?
So, MV wheels with white logos is sick. Because when they're spinning, they just get this really nice, lovely, glowy pattern.
Zip wheels with big logos.
Oh, yeah.
Also good.
They don't really do it so much anymore, do they?
No.
Because they used to have proper white zip logos, didn't
And
they?
everyone now wants stealth. It depends on the logo. If the logo is good and lends itself to bigness, then yeah.
I'm quite into frames that don't have lots, like very plain frames, but I think I could see myself having a setup where there's a frame that's like stealthy, but then wheels that are not stealthy. I think that's pretty cool. Are they overrated or underrated? Probably underrated because everyone is obsessed with like stealth black.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.